When the Alter Rebbe visited the city of Vitebsk and held a public debate with his opponents there, as a result of this debate, many people who were previously in the camp of the opponents of the Alter Rebbe became Chassidim. But at that time, becoming a Chassid was something that exposed you to lots of abuse. There was a lot of different levels that the opponents of the Chassidim at that time abused the Chassidim: physical, financial, and even within a family. If there was someone who became a Chassid, it wasn't a fun thing. So there was one Chassid Alter Rebbe. His name was Gavriel. Gavriel, he lived there in the Vitebsk, and when he became a Chassid, his brothers and brothers-in-law and father-in-law and sisters-in-law, they really tormented him, and not just tormented him. The previous Rebbe writes the details of the story in his Shimas, and he writes a kind of suffering that he endured. They made sure that he would be ruined financially, and it's a very, very hard time. So Chassidim the Alter Rebbe had this unique understanding of visiting the Alter Rebbe, what it means to visit the Alter Rebbe. And they wouldn't discuss the Alter Rebbe things that pertained to their material lives. They felt that talking to the Alter Rebbe, it's a holy spiritual thing. They should talk about spiritual things. So although he was really suffering, and he also didn't have children for 25 years, he never told the Alter Rebbe about his suffering. At that time, the Alter Rebbe would send his emissaries to various towns where there was what's it called, an enclave of Chassidim, to collect funds for various charities that the Alter Rebbe would distribute. Like primarily, there was also the Krel Chabad fund that the Alter Rebbe sent to help the Jews in Eretz Yisrael. So, and the Alter Rebbe would tell each Chassid what they were meant to give. There was also a vad, there was a committee that determined what everyone was supposed to contribute. So, although he was once very financially wealthy, but because of the persecution, they denounced him to the government as well. Besides doing other things to him, they actually denounced him to the government. And you have to understand that they thought they're doing a holy mitzvah, because there were various rabbis at the time which said that although the Talmud talks about one of the worst sins is to inform someone of the government, but they felt they were doing a mitzvah because they felt that the Chassidim were going against Torah, and there was a mitzvah to persecute them. So this Rebbe Gavriel was really suffering, and his wife saw him one day that he was down. And why was he down? She said, because the Alter Rebbe assessed that I need to give a certain amount of money to help the Jews for pidyon shvuim, actually, to redeem captives, and I can't afford it. I don't know what to do. So when he says he can't afford it, it doesn't mean that he couldn't afford it. It means he didn't really he was a chassid, so he only thought about the spiritual, and so she knew how happy he was to get him something that the Alter Rebbe told him to do, and so he for the first time he told her that how he's in financial ruins, that she had no idea. So his wife said to him, didn't you often tell me that the Rebbe always stresses in his teachings that one must believe and trust in God, must remain constantly joyful? So why are you distressed? Surely Hashem will help. We'll be able to satisfy the assessment that the Alter Rebbe placed upon us. So she was, Friedrich said, a very Chassidic lady. So she took all of her jewelry and her pearls, and she pawned them. She brought the money to her husband, and she said, now we have the sum. So, and this is the entire amount that the Alter Rebbe had assessed them to give. She advised her husband to go immediately to Liyazhna, to the Alter Rebbe, and put the money in the whole hand of the Alter Rebbe. Rabbi Lil said that usually when the Alter Rebbe gave an assessment of what people are supposed to give, the emissary, the Alter Rebbe, would come and he would collect the funds. So surely a messenger will come and he'll collect the funds as well. But because his brothers denounced him to government and caused him such great loss, he was afraid that he might need to use the money for himself, and he would be unable to resist the temptation. And therefore, he changed his mind, took the packet of money, and he set off to the Alter Rebbe. He brings the money to the Alter Rebbe, he puts it on the table, and he explained why he came. He said, the reason I came was because I was afraid that I might need it for myself. I won't be able to resist temptation if I brought it earlier. So when he put it on the table, Alter Rebbe instructed him to open up the parcel. It was wrapped up, he opened it up. And he looked at the coins were shining, as if they were just newly minted. And Real had no idea why the coins were shining. And Alter Rebbe leaned upon his elbows in a state of veikos, a state of rapture, and for a long time, the Alter Rebbe, after leaning on his hands, the Alter Rebbe then said the following: among all the items that were donated to build the Mishkan, to build the tabernacle, there was gold, there was silver, there was copper. There was nothing that shone as brightly as the copper mirrors the women donated from which the kiyar, in which the wash basin was made. Now, the wash basin was one of the last things that was made among all the things in the Mishkan. But they were the first things that were used every day. Although it was one of the last things that was made, it was one of the first things that was used. It was used before everything else. And the Alter Rebbe said, where do you get the money from? And Lil told Alter Rebbe that how he was suffering and how he had no money left. And he told him how his wife, Chana Rivka, had said that she wants to help. And without him knowing, he told Alter Rebbe his wife, Chana Rivka Bas Bela, had gone and pawned the jewelry. So Alter Rebbe leaned again on his elbows, and then he said, Bastina Botolina. That the simple meaning of the words is and Talmud's talking about something else, and it's on the surface, when delayed judgment causes judgment to be annulled. But the Alter Rebbe said that a daughter of judgment has a null judgment. So Hashem should grant you that you and your wife, sons and daughters, should have sons and daughters along life, so that you may see your descendants for several generations. Hashem grant you time and gain success in all your undertakings and great wealth. And then he said, may you find favor in the eyes of everyone you meet. Close your business, instead, close your shop, and instead open a jewelry business. So Rabbi returned home. He had this huge bracha from the Alter Rebbe for children, for parnasa, for long life. And he asked his wife how the stones, why they were shining. So his wife said, I polished them with sand until they were mirror-like and sparkled like the stars of the sky. I did so that Hashem and the Holy Rebbe would lift up our mazel. So our fortune our mazel will begin to sparkle and shine, and our enemies should be humiliated. That's what his wife said. And so he closed the shop, he began working in precious stones, and Hashem gave him success, and he indeed found favor in the eyes of the nobleman, and he started gaining a reputation. That's why he was called the Gabriel Nesachin, Gabriel, the one who finds favor in the eyes of all. So, and Baruch Hashem was blessed. He had his business for 40 years, he had sons and daughters, and that also blessed him. He would see generations. So the previous Rebbe, when he shared the story, he then continued with the famous teaching that we've heard before about Sfir Seimer. It was in the context of this story. The previous Rebbe shared the meaning of Sfir Seimer. Rebbe said, what's the meaning of Sfir Seimer? Torah says, should count for yourself. So the word usfartem the root of the word Svartem comes the word sapphire. So the meaning of Svartem Lachem doesn't mean you should just count. It also means that you should illuminate. You should illuminate yourself. So in the context of the story, what does illuminate yourself mean? She shined the coins. Okay, so she shined the coins. The coins were luminous. But of course, in order to shine those coins, it wasn't just that she physically shined the coins. She had this total dedication to the Alter Rebbe, to Tzedakah, to Torah, to Emunah, and that's what motivated her to shine those coins. And that's what the physical shining of the coins was an expression of the shining of her neshama. So when the previous episode was Svartem Lachem means that to shine, you have to shine. So it's in that context that we have to not just show up with the Torah mitzvahs, which is the first step of serving Hashem. Svartem Lachem means that we're supposed to illuminate our character, that the way we think, the way we feel, the way we behave. It's supposed to be luminous. The Gemara says that the Aseta has to bring an offering of barley flour. Why? Well, it says because since she did an action which is similar to an animal, because being suspect, being with another man, is something that itself, whether she's guilty or not, is something which is animalistic. Therefore, her sacrifice that she brings in the Beis Hamikdash is also animalistic. So the mitzvah of Sfiras Omer, we're counting the time from when the Omer offering was brought. What was the Omer offering? It was also one of the only sacrifices, the Karban Seita, and the Omer offering, which is also comes from barley. So the Seita offering we know comes from barley because she did such a animalistic thing. But why does the Omer offering, the offering to Hashem, the first of the harvest, why is it from barley? The answer is that the theme of this time after Pesach is to focus on and to elevate the animalistic part of ourselves. To elevate lachem. Torah says, "Usfartem lachem," you should shine. It's not talking about your neshama. Your neshama shines already. Usfartem lachem means that you should shine your animal soul, your persona. It doesn't tell you that your animal soul is your persona. That's you. So Usfartem lachem, what's they're telling us? It's telling us we need to illuminate ourselves. How do we illuminate ourselves? The Torah says, through 7 complete weeks, 7 weeks, the count of the Omer, and as you know, every day corresponds to another part of the Sfiras Omer. But besides those professional Jews who were able to figure out each day what they're meant to do to elevate their character, I think also for us unprofessional Neanderthal people, look at the various midas, Teres, Yesod, and have no idea what they mean. The previous Rebbe writes in detail on Mimer the first set of series, Chassid, Chassid, Worship, Chassid, very beautiful. And so the first one, it's easy to know what it means. He says, Chassid means love and kindness. It says in Tanya, Ava hisibus achas yusa. Love is the inner dimension of kindness and its inner power. Its inner meaning, the inner depth of kindness is love. So chesed shebachesed means that because you love, you express your love. Your love is not just in your heart, because you have, it's like Maimonides Friedman talks about liking the people you love. Because you notice love is, yes, of course I love my children, I love, yeah. Chesed shebachesed means that love is expressed in a pure love, the love of a father. That's chesed shebachesed. So too with our vis-a-vis our love of Hashem, that's chesed shebachesed.
But we're meant to overcome. These are all admirable qualities of our soul. We're meant to overcome the abuses that we fail to live up to with regard to that particular day. So if we're chesed shebachesed,
I don't know about you, but I know about me. I know that if I started with
same way.
I actually, let's say it this way. I know they don't know about me. So
Same as me.
So I know that if I start working on Chesed Shebachesed today, nobody would be upset in Shemayim. Nobody would be upset. If I started working on my chesed today, trying to fix my character and more chesed shebechesed, I'd be doing great. I'd be doing fantastic. They wouldn't say, "What are you doing? Hey, aren't you up to Tiferes?" You say like, actually check the records again. Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I'm saying maybe your minute a day feature. There's only would be a good time to
go to Shira. Yeah, if I would know what half of them was, I would do half of them.
But that's this book about Shira.
Yeah, but Jacobson has. But my point is not whether or not it's possible to interpret. And Jacobson, he doesn't find, I'm sure, I didn't ask him, but I don't think it's an explicit source that says for every single one of the 49.
You have to look at each one themselves to figure out by two abusive.
Okay, so that's Gvura Shebachesed. Gvura Shebachesed is about.
To give one that's easy.
Right. We know, the couple of them we know, but my point is something else. My point is that during this time, there's a special power from Hashem to rectify our character. That's the power. That's the end of all message. The end of all message for all Jews is you have a time right now to upgrade yourself. That's the message Hashem's giving.
The other day we talked about the Tiferes being needs a contrast, beauty.
Yeah.
Right. So it sounds like okay, let's fight.
Yeah.
Yesterday, it has to be the shalom, because otherwise again it's not good. So the contrast has to be shalom. So if you think of going home and say, look, your wife, let's have a contrast.
He's actually
that's not famous. There has to be shalom in order for it to be famous.
I just want to share on that note, there's a very simple thing Rebbe says, which is very no one knows. Rebbe says it's better to have a shallow peace than a deep war. A meaningful war is not as good as a shallow peace. Anyways, so just we finished it. You mentioned Tiferes. Tiferes Shebachesed means, the Frierdiker Rebbe says, that you're chesed because you love. You want to act in a way that's beautiful because of your kindness. You want your kindness to express itself in beautiful ways. So like you're going to beautify your tefillin and your mezuzahs and you say whatever Hashem. What I do for Hashem is Zekel. So it's not only meant for those who know what each sphere means. It's meant for all of us to lift ourselves, to shine in ourselves. This and not just meant for our neshama. It's meant for our animal soul. Our animal soul should be illuminated. You can no one gets better by just by inflicting criticism and ruminating on your failures. Usvartem has to shine something positive from your neshama into you to do this. That's why the Torah says, count the Omer the day after Shabbos. One of the things I mentioned this week, that there's a big discussion of the day after Shabbos means. We know for sure the day after Shabbos does not mean the day after Shabbos. We know that it means the day after the first day of Pesach. But the Tzdukim didn't know that. The Tzdukim had all this campaign with hidden agents to try to manipulate the calendar to make the first day of Pesach fall on Shabbos, so that the day after Pesach would be the day after Shabbos, so that every year Pesach fall on Shabbos. So as it does this year, which parenthetically it's incongruous to what I just said, but there is a spiritual value when it falls out on Shabbos. When the first day of Pesach falls on Shabbos, like this year, there's this. The Gemara says a must. When is it? It says in Torah to count 7 full weeks. When is it considered full? It's considered full, especially when Pesach falls on Shabbos. Why? That's a different subject. But where I was going was, the Torah says day after Shabbos, but it doesn't mean day after Shabbos. It means day after Pesach. Why does it say day after Shabbos? The answer is that Shabbos is connected to limitation. Shabbos is connected to the light of Hashem within creation. As it says in the Torah that Hashem finished making the world on Shabbos. So you didn't finish making the world on Shabbos, finish making the world on Friday. What was the world missing on Shabbos? Says in the Gemara, the world was missing tranquility. Hashem gave the world tranquility on Shabbos. So that means even the light of Shabbos is somehow connected to the world. So the day after Shabbos means something which is beyond all the world, beyond the spiritual cosmos. Infinite light of Hashem, and only with that infinite light of Hashem reveals to us. That's why on Pesach, that's when it's possible to work on your character. It's something Hashem gives us a unique, infinite ability to make a step in this direction. We machras Hashabbos beyond Shabbos. You want to work on it. Your character, you should know Hashem gives you huge, huge power for this. So you're empowered. The door is open. He's holding your hand. And you could do this. That's the meaning of you should count after Shabbos. In other words, instead of saying you should count after Shabbos, Hashem is, let's put it in our vernacular perhaps. Hashem is saying to you, you've got this. I'm helping you. I'm opening up all the doors in heaven. All the light of all the revelation is there in your neshama to empower you to be not just okay, but Sheva Shabbos Nisiyana, that all parts of your character be rectified. Every single thing in your soul will be okay. This theme and the meaning of Pesach, and then it's Omer, and then followed by Shavuos, this is encapsulated in the verse of Song of Songs. The verse goes like this: draw me after you, we will run. The king has brought me into his chamber. Draw me after you, it's in the singular. And all of a sudden it switches to we will run in the plural. Then it says again, the king has brought me into his chamber in the singular. What are these three phrases? So draw me after you is referring to the excess of Egypt. Think about it. We're in Egypt. We're totally into the wrong things. And then Hashem says, let's leave Egypt. And there's a revelation of godliness. Who is into that revelation? Who is swept away with love, running after Hashem? Our neshama. The soul is running after Hashem. But what about our persona? What about our us? What about our natural selves? It ain't fixed. The neshama is lovesick, and Hashem draws the neshama after him. Hashem pulls. It's an arousal from above. It's just the leila. It's arousal from above. So after step one, Hashem draws us after him. Then it comes a time of spiritual Omer. Okay, let's bring this down to ourselves. Let's figure out what this means. Let's not try to bring this down at a personal level and try to engage with our animal soul and advertise to our animal soul why Hashem is good, why Hashem is kind, why Hashem intelligence is real life, why this is the best stuff. Let's let our animal soul appreciate. Let's open the door. Let's open up this place for Hashem's abundant bracha to flow, and open up ourselves to appreciate the goodness in life. That's the meaning of the first mission, this week's Pirkei Avos, Ethics of Our Fathers. Rebbe says, what's the good path you should choose in life? What's a good path you should choose in life? Do something that you think is beautiful and everyone else thinks is beautiful. Sounds like Rebbe is saying, find something that will give you the most amount of likes in Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. Rebbe, choose a path in life as if it's free. Choose any path you want, choose anything you want, it's all open. That's not what it means. What it means is, it's Torah mitzvahs, you choose a path in life. What are you talking about? Choose a path in life means it shouldn't just be you're doing it because you're told to do it. It should be something that you're fully, wholesomely into, because that's where your mind and heart feel. That's the role of the sphere sign. So the growth of sphere is that our animal, the lower parts of ourselves, should be excited about Torah mitzvahs. That's why it says we will run. What does we will run mean? Not just my neshama, but we, my godly soul and my animal soul, all of me, every part of me, the whole schizo thing inside, the neshama, the animal soul, the whole me shouldn't be schizo. It should all run after the Eibusher. That's why it says run. It doesn't say, it says draw me after you. The neshama is drawn after Hashem through Hashem revealing himself. And then it says we are going to run, because the animal soul doesn't just walk towards its desires. The animal soul bolts, runs, it goes crazy. So once the animal soul is engaged and interested and excited with their mitzvahs, all of a sudden running happens. And the Neshama doesn't know how to run. Neshama, this is what we should do. Neshama is a little bit more boring than the animal soul. Animal soul excited, has a different kind of excitement. That's what it says, we will run, is running. So after we achieve, we will run, then comes the time of Shavuos, with intimacy with Hashem. The king brings me into his chamber and gives us his Torah. Torah, what's the Torah? The first word of the Ten Commandments is I, my soul, I wrote it and gave it. Hashem gives us in his essence the Torah. That's intimacy that's meaning of leaving Egypt, counting the Omer, and getting the Torah. Draw me after you, leaving Egypt. We will run, Omer. The king has brought me in the chamber, Shavuos. In a similar way, in a daily level, we experience the same thing in a daily level. Moida Ani is, I'm going after you, Hashem. Who is going after Hashem? There's a part of you which is saying, stay in bed and don't do this. Draw me after you. I'm saying Ani. Who's I? Who's the neshama saying, let's go. The Eidish wants us now. You woke up right now, draw me after you. That's Midah. Then after Ani, you go to davening. What's davening? Davening is when you try to, davening comes from the neshama. The Siddur is written in the language of the neshama. Your neshama is the one that davens. But as emphasizes we have to bring down the words of davening in a way that we appreciate them. Our animal soul appreciates them as well. And it makes sense to us, and we appreciate it, so that we're able, through the entire process of davening, to reach. The goal is you get the Shema. You should reach the words. You should love Hashem with all your hearts, and should be sincere. You should read all your heart, your whole self. Should love Hashem. So that's the meaning of we will run. That you're the neshama and your animal soul. That's the Sir Sa'imer part of the day. And what's the Shavuos part of the day? What's the giving of the Torah part of the day? That's Shmoneh Esrei. At the beginning of Shmoneh Esrei, starts off with the words, Hashem should open my lips. Davening, it says in the Zohar, it's called a ladder. So the first step of the ladder is up to Baruch Sha'amar. Then there's the actual thickness of the rung of the ladder. That's the L'Shem Yichud Shabrichu. That allows you to ascend to the next level, to the world of Yetzirah. Then after that, you say Yishtabach and ready to go to the next level. That's Kadesh and Baruch Hu. That's the thickness of the ladder, of the rung of the ladder, allows you to go to the next level, the world of Bria. Then you say the song of the angels and souls. The world of Bria is the world of the throne room. You say Kadesh and Baruch and Shema, the song of the souls and the angels, and you've ascended. And how do you ascend now to be in the king's chamber, to be in the world of Atzilus, to talk face to face with the king? So that's the words, Hashem, Hashem, open my lips. What those words emphasize is you can't even talk. You're so overwhelmed. You're like whatever Hashem says, you're a child in front of his father, and it's not. When you're far from your father, you may scream, Dad, I want to be with you. But if you haven't seen your father in 20 years, and then all of a sudden you see him, you're close with him, so then instead of you screaming Father, but he's right in front of you, you can't scream. Instead, your love is a love like water. We're overwhelmed by love, and you can't even talk anymore. That's the meaning Hashem opened my lips, that we're so overwhelmed with the closeness of Hashem that there's no speaking. That's how you're supposed to enter Shmoneh Esrei. That's what Shmoneh Esrei is. That's the Shavuos part of the day. All right. So that's the instruction of Hashem to us, to shine into our animal soul during this time, and to telling you, do chesed today. There won't be any malachim complaining. We'll be doing great. Chesed, more chesed, and if we finish one of those things by Shavuos, we're gonna get an A.